I mean, they paid no attention to the moderator.
Yes, that's true. He did have a tough time controlling the tempo of the debate, but as the candidates got more and more comfortable with the tempo of the debate, they were able to slow down and say exactly what they wanted to say.
I wanted to quickly ask you, too, as far as stylistically who was able to come across as the more confident candidate, Dr. Smaw, who do you think won that battle?
In terms of confidence, the two things that I noticed most was that President Obama smiled a lot, and so that made him look comfortable and confident throughout the debate. When Governor Mitt Romney was not talking, he looked very confident. As he started to talk, he looked a little bit frustrated, and I'm not sure exactly why. He was doing well throughout the debate, but he did look a little frustrated as he talked.
All right, we want to bring in our other member of the political power panel tonight, Craig Patrick, the political editor in our Tampa newsroom, of course, following these debates closely as well tonight. Craig, as we get you in on this conversation, I want to play a quick soundbite. A lot of topics covered. And the first one they really dug into were taxes and the deficit. We're going to play a quick soundbite and then get your thoughts.
Sure. The way we do it is $2.50 for every cut. We ask for $1 of additional revenue, paid for, as I indicated earlier, by asking those of us who have done very well in this country to contribute a little bit more to reduce the deficit.
You've been president 4 years. You said you cut the deficit in half. It's now 4 years later. We still have trillion-dollar deficits. The CBO says we'll have a trillion-dollar deficit each of the next 4 years. If you're reelected, we'll get to a trillion-dollar debt.
Numbers don't lie, Craig. What did you think about that exchange?
Well, clearly Mitt Romney was the aggressor. It makes sense. He's the challenger. He was behind, particularly in many of the battleground states. The entire first half of the debate, though, focused largely on Mitt Romney's own tax policy. He went on the defensive. That was a plus for President Obama. It became a referendum on Romney's plan rather than President Obama's plan. A big plus, though, on the other side, Romney's remarks about the 47% a few days ago on tax policy, paying no income tax. Very controversial remarks. Never came up, were never brought up by the president. That is a big plus for him. Going through the facts, the debt has increased just over $5 trillion since 2009. That is largely true. Also, a number of studies backed up Mitt Romney's tax plan. According to Mitt Romney, not necessarily so. In fact, one very well-known and well-respected study found some problems with Mitt Romney's math. Has President Obama cut taxes 18 times? That's another claim that came up. For the most part, he has.
All right, well, those numbers, I guess, don't lie either. Dr. Smaw, I want to bring you back into this because, as Craig mentioned, a lot of time in the beginning portion of this debate was dedicated to discussions on money-related issues, on taxes, and about the deficit. Do you think that Mr. Romney took advantage of that extra time that he had in the beginning and made the most of that opportunity, like Craig said, to finally flesh out what his plans would be as president?
I agree with Craig. In the beginning, it is true that this became a conversation about Mitt Romney's plan, and of course President Obama forced him on the specifics. And what we did see was a little bit of frustration, and maybe that's why he appeared frustration in the beginning. On the question of the specifics of his plan, President Obama kept coming back to that and kept coming back to that, and we ended up with the question of how Governor Romney, if he is elected president, will pay for the reduction in taxes that he's claiming that he will institute as president.
Let's listen to another quick exchange, this one about Medicare.
I think it's important for Governor Romney to present this plan that he says will only affect folks in the future. And the essence of the plan is that he would turn Medicare into a voucher program. It's called premium support, but it's understood to be a voucher program. His running mate.
And you don't support that?
I don't.
I'd rather have a private plan. I just as soon not have the government telling me what kind of health care I get. I'd rather be able to have an insurance company. If I don't like them, I can get rid of them and find a different insurance company. But people make their own choice. The other thing we have to do to save Medicare, we have to have the benefits high for those that are low income. But for higher income people, we're going to have to lower some of the benefits.
All right, Craig, I want to ask you this because there's been a lot of debate between the candidates if the word voucher was correct. What do your facts show on this, and what the president was saying? Is that true about what could happen to Medicare?
Well, let's take the first question first. Is this a voucher program? Well, Well, you can certainly argue that it is. At one time, Paul Ryan had proposed converting Medicare entirely into a voucher program. Since then, his policy evolved to optional vouchers. And on that point, we are talking about the use of vouchers. Romney has embraced the use of vouchers. You just heard him do it. And that is something that has rattled not just seniors, because we're talking about future recipients, not current recipients, as the president and Mitt Romney both pointed out here, but they have been very concerned about changes to Medicare in the state of Florida. So what about the cost? Well, we've heard the assertions from President Obama that a future Medicare recipient would pay, around $6,400 more. That is an outdated number based on some prior legislation, prior proposals. It is quite possible that it could the operative word, cost seniors more, but it's hard to line up at this point exactly how much more because we don't necessarily have all of the specifics. But it is accurate to say that we would be talking about a conversion to a voucher-type system, at the very least optional vouchers for those who wish to have it. Now, as for the assertion $700 billion being taken out of Medicare, that's the charge Romney makes to President Obama. Well, that to a degree is true, though when we talk about cutting it by $700 billion, those are cuts to the providers, to the hospitals, and not to the recipients themselves.
Craig Patrick, thank you so much for your analysis tonight. Dr. Smaw, we're going to hear from you in the second half hour as well. Thank you, gentlemen, so much.
Thank you.
As Sonny mentioned,